Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Pele, Josh Pele, Mario Heron. As we do this show, we just got the breaking news that the Chargers made a move. They made a couple of moves. The same move that actually, guys, we asked them to make last year when they were eliminated against Jacksonville. And even if you want to go back further than that, going back to probably September of 2022. Well, timing has never been the Chargers thing, but today is the day that they have fired head coach Brandon Staley and general manager Tom Telesco. 3 games remaining, guys. Number one, I think we all thought they were going to make this move because it's what the Chargers would do, to do something when it's way too late to make a difference in the season. And at the same time, they make a move because they fell to pressure. This is one of those situations, guys, is that, look, we were right all along. And I know it's no fun saying we're right. And we could probably claim whoever they hire next, man, you got to fire this guy. That's not what we do. We come at you with this show, at least the 3 of us do, is we're fans first. We aren't coming out as experts and to basically gotcha moments and looking for the team to fail. We don't go that direction, but we want to see the team win, just like the rest of the people who follow this show do. So when the team struggles and you realize they're going in the wrong direction, we call out ownership to do the right thing. They didn't. And now they make a move where it's like the fire department showing up when the house is already burned down. What is the point? What is the point of sitting there making this move, guys, with 3 games to go? This was a move that should have been done a year ago, and it's embarrassing. It's the most Spanos Charger thing to do, to fire your head coach and general manager with 3 games to go, a week and a half before Christmas. You look like even bigger jerks. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. No one is set up in a position to succeed on who they replace them with, and we're going to get into that later on in the show as well. But
all right, Mario, have you ever seen the movie The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler? Is that too far past? Okay. Do you remember this scene? It's a great movie. Do you remember the scene where he's sitting in the front yard and she doesn't marry him, and she never shows up to the wedding, and then she shows up the next day and she tells him, I wasn't really feeling it, and he says, "That's information I would have liked to know yesterday." It's like, I feel the same way. This is information I would have liked to known after the Jaguars game. This is so too late. The notification I get across my phone when I find out that Brandon Staley's fired, it's a joke. I've never seen somebody get fired with a joke under. Usually it's really sad, like Brandon Staley, released, or like, fired. It says Brandon Staley fired, and then it says something that should have been done 11 months ago. That's what it said on my phone. I was like, holy hell, dude. They're starting to make jokes now for firings. I couldn't agree more. The guy should have been fired 11 months ago. Why do you do it now? This is the time you actually want to lose. You're not going to fire a guy when the games don't matter. If you want to lose and you think he's a bad head coach, which we all do think that, then you let him ride it out so we get a great draft pick. The timing of this doesn't make any sense. That's 90% of how I feel, what I just said right now. 10% of me is like, thank God it's over. It's a bad breakup that's finally, a bad relationship that's finally over, and I'm happy it's over. So part of me is really happy he's gone, but like most of me is saying, why now with 3 games left?
It's the timing of it is strange, right? Like, it came at such a weird time, and it's like you missed the window where you can kind of regroup and maybe save the year. That window's gone. That's broken. It's gone. But like you said, Josh, I'm just going to be happy that a new era is coming. Like, the new era is starting now. Like, it's done. Staley's done. Telesco, Tommy Boy, get the hell out. Thanks for 11 years of mediocrity and doing and accomplishing absolutely nothing. Thank you so much for that. Go find another job in the NFL if you can. Charger fans, I think the message to this and the message out of this is, one, we now know what it takes for a coach to get fired in the middle of the season. It takes getting embarrassed on the national stage in front of everyone against your rival. I guess that's what it takes. So if, everything else didn't matter of the Jaguars coming back and causing history, it's the history of getting blown out against the Las Vegas Raiders, your arch rival. So we now know the standard. Now I think, Dave, is honestly, and maybe it's because I've been here so many times before with so many different sports teams. Now's a little bit of the exciting part, because it's like, okay, now what comes next? Because now you're in the venture of the unknown. It's like the right moves could be made. You could get the right GM next. You could get the right coach next. You could go in the right direction. Now, I do think Staley was the firing a little late. Yes, it was a little late. Expiration date on it. But I can't just sit here and smile a little bit, Dave, and go, I'm excited for the new era. I'm excited for the new unknown. Maybe something nice comes of it. I accept change. We got change coming. What's better than a little bit of change?
No, change is fine. But now, I mean, big damn deal. You're going to sit there and make this move, and you bring in an interim coach, then you bring in an interim general manager, and you go in what direction is this franchise going in, and what took them so long to react? As you said, Mario, it goes all the way back to, you get embarrassed on national TV. Dude, wake up, Dean. You've been embarrassed for a long time. I mean, you've been embarrassed since the Jacksonville game. This has been a laughing stock of an organization this season. You are $50 million over where you need to be in the salary cap. That means as bad as you are this year, you have to figure out a way to cut $50 million. So what happens to this Charger team moving forward? We all want to believe that you can fix this right away and it's a brand new, fresh start. It's not. It's going to take a miracle to basically set this table and how it's going to look. Unfortunately, you're wasting years of a franchise quarterback. I'm so irritated by everything they have done since the Jacksonville game. I can't tell you.
It's very frustrating. They bring in Giff Smith, who, if you don't know who that is, join the club. He's the outside linebackers coach, who's now the interim head coach. And they bring in JoJo Wooden. No relationship to
JoJo
John
Wooden.
Yeah, JoJo Wooden. No relationship to John Wooden, of course.
No.
As the interim GM. I mean, whatever. That's such a footnote on this whole thing. But I was ready for Ryan Ficken, the special teams coordinator, to be the interim head coach, or Kellen Moore. Those are the two guys that I was expecting to get this position. Of course, it doesn't happen. I already had my puns ready for Ryan Ficken when they messed up. What the fick?
Yeah. Ficken kidding me?
Yeah, we're ficking this up. I was so ready for that, but obviously it doesn't happen. Chargers, man. I'm happy it happened. What do you do going forward to cut $50 million and improve on this team without getting rid of Justin Herbert? You got to get rid of some star players. I mean, Khalil Mack might be out the door. Joey Bosa. You got going to get rid of some big time money to make this team better. But I'm all for it. There's only one player on this team I've said that I want, and it's Justin Herbert. I want to talk about something that somebody corrected me on in the comments, and I really appreciate when people point out my mistakes. I said that Brandon Staley was part of the Super Bowl team with the Rams. He was not. Okay. In 2019, they lose to the Patriots. The Rams do. He's not there. 2020, his lone year with the Rams, they give up 30 points to the Seahawks in the divisional round and lose. That's Brandon Staley's doing right there. That's his team. He leaves. The next year, they win the Super Bowl. So he wasn't a part of any Super Bowl team. He was in between Super Bowls. Holy hell. Why did we hire the guy that was in between the Super Bowls? We couldn't get anybody that was a part of those Super Bowl teams. That's what we're doing. And I know you hire him before they still, the guy screwed up in the 1 year they don't make it. And I don't understand the hiring process here. Like, is it the whole dart thing? Like, we're just going to close our eyes and we're going to hire wherever it lands? What's the thought process, Mario? Do you have any idea what they're doing?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was on the 2018 Chicago Bear coaching staff when they had that magical run. I got to double check that, but I'm pretty sure he was on that Vic Fangio staff, and it was the amazing, look at this defense. Fangio's the best defensive mind in the league, and then he's this young guy. He goes to McVay, and there was that hot spree, kind of still in it too, where if you touch McVay, you get a coaching job. And I guess Brandon Staley just kind of lucked into that. So if you're looking for a job in the NFL, just go ahead, stand next to Sean McVay, maybe take a picture with him, steal a couple of his notes, and you're gonna go get a job. That's what Brandon Staley did, and look where that got him. So it's a frustrating thing. And it's funny, too, because I was looking back when we looked back just at Staley's ordeal, right? And remember that little glimpse of time when Staley was seen as, like, a good coach? Like, in 2021, I generally thought, like, no, this guy's a good coach. Like, this guy, he's this fourth down risk taker. He's this go all in or go all out. And I was like, God, this guy's exciting. This guy's a good head coach. This guy, he's with still a very young quarterback, so it's going to take another year. Then we saw what happens with another year. Like, all right, it's a little bit of a letdown. There's a lot of coaching mistakes. And then halfway through the year, like, all right, there's a lot of coaching mistakes. He's getting out coached. He doesn't have his balls anymore. Like, what's going on? And then now we enter this year, and it's just like he's a bottom 5 coach in the league. And then it's like you should bet on him for first coach fired. And then the Chargers go under their win total, and people lose money. And then Herbert gets hurt. Then Mike Williams gets hurt. Bosa gets hurt. Yada, yada, yada. The wheel spins. And now we sit here, and it's one of those things that's like, Dave, what do you think the Chargers can learn from the past 2 head coaching hirings, right? Like, what do you think you can learn from hiring Anthony Lynn that blew up in his face, and then he gets fired as Lions OC a year later? What do you think you can learn from hiring a guy like Staley? Like, what do you think can be learned from it so the Chargers don't make the same mistake again?
You broke out on me. I'm trying to catch everything you said. Sorry, Mario. I'm disconnected a little bit on the internet right there. So For me, with the Chargers and what they can do moving forward, they need to find someone to me that has a resume, a real name, just like we've spoken about before. I just want to touch on the two guys that they're bringing in. Is I agree with what you guys said. That surprised it wasn't special teams coach as the interim coach, or even Kellen Moore, who I think should be out of a job at the end of the season anyway. JoJo Wooden, who's supposed to be acting general manager, and the only reason I can guess that he's in because the trade deadline obviously isn't going to happen in the next three of basically, college and pro scouting. So stuff that the Chargers would look at for next year. And so at the same time, if you sit there and look at what the Chargers are doing, getting ready for the draft, I understand why you keep them around. JoJo Wooden has been at this organization since 2013. And at the same time, being here since 2013 is a situation that they have stunk since 2013 with drafts. JoJo Wooden should have been shown the door a long time ago, too. The one guy who wasn't fired was John Spanos, who doesn't want to put his name on it. He doesn't want to put his name on it, that he has a lot to do with picking these players and putting these rosters together. Brandon Staley, it's not like I think, guys, he would do great if he had the 49ers roster or the Eagles roster. I don't think he's a good coach. And he could take all his, medium sweatshirts and medium polos and walk right out the door. See you later. This day is a long time coming. Very, very disappointed. Very disappointed the way they're going to go about the next 3 weeks. And I'm very curious to see what they do starting in January to fix this organization.
Me too. And Brandon Staley's press conference was a doozy for anybody that didn't see it. I'm going to talk about some of the things he said. He was saying in the press conference, which he will say 2 to 3. Oh, he won't do it anymore, but he would say 2 to 3 things in a press conference that make you go, what the hell did you just say? And then you have to rewind it and listen to it again. Here's one of them. He was talking about the game yesterday. This happens to everyone. These things happen. And the reporter, bless his heart, says, this does not happen, Brandon. Teams don't lose by 42 points and give up, 60 points. This isn't a thing that happens. And he goes, it does. That's what happens. And the guy, no, it doesn't. This is not a thing. And I love that the reporter went right back at him and said, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? And he should have been fired a long time ago. We know that. The whole John Spanos thing is what I want to talk about, though. He needs to be fired. We know this. We have a source that's very close to the team that has told us Tom Telesco is the fall guy. John Spanos is making a lot of the decisions. John Spanos is the one that chose Brandon Staley. I'll say that again. John Spanos chose Brandon Staley. John Spanos is still there. He's the one that chose him. Okay? I'm going to talk about Iowa football. Does anybody know who the head coach at Iowa is? He's been there forever. It's Ferentz, right? Kirk Ferentz. Yeah. His son, Brian Ferentz, is the OC. And I'll do it real quick. So the situation over there is that they have the worst offense ever, right? Iowa's offense, anybody that watches college football, is like the worst in the nation. And it has been for the last 5 years. His son, Brian Ferentz, has been the OC there. Kirk Ferentz will not fire his son. And the school's pissed. The students are pissed. The AD put in the contract for his son, if you don't score 25 points a game, you will be fired because your dad will not do this. And guess what? He got fired because they didn't score 25 points a game. They lowered his contract by $50,000 because the school made him, because he's so bad at his job, because Kirk Ferentz will not fire his son. The Chargers are in the same situation. Dean Spanos will not fire his son. The difference is Kirk Ferentz can't get fired. Dean's not going to get fired. He owns the team. You need to get rid of your son. He is killing this franchise. You'd love to think that the owner cares about its fans, but that is not the case in this situation. Dean does not give a rat's ass about us. If he does, he would have got rid of his son. He wouldn't go cheap on the head coaching hires, and he'd surround Justin Herbert with players that can play in the NFL, because you watch these games and you wonder how many of these guys are actually NFL players. And if you're going to talk about the head coaching decisions that they've made, going back further than Anthony Lynn with Mike McCoy, why aren't these guys coaches in the NFL now? Because they suck. That's how you can judge a head coach. Where is he at after he's with your team? Does he have a head coaching gig now? Because he won't. Brandon Staley won't. Anthony Lynn won't. Mike McCoy won't. These are bad hires, and you can't continue to do this and expect to win.
You can't, and I think to your point too, like, it starts at the top and dwindles down, and the top of it is just disarray and doesn't get anything going. And I think also the hard part too that the Chargers face right now is they got hire a GM and then hire a coach. Like, and you kind of got to do that quick, right? Like, there's good coaching candidates out there, but they go quick. And a lot of teams, like, when they, fire their head coach, GM's in place, and that GM wants to move quick because that GM's ass is on the line. So that GM has to move fast. You got to move quick. You got to get a GM. You got to be firm. You got to make sure you're quick, effective, find the right guy, and then move on and then get to the head coach. Because if you don't, this is what I'm worried about, guys. I'm worried about that they move too slow and it's slim pickings. Like, you don't want to move too slow and miss out on the good candidates out there. You want to move too slow and then you miss out on a Shanahan disciple, miss out on Ben Johnson. You don't want to move like that. You got to move quicker. You got to find the right guy GM. You got to list out the candidates you got right now, and you start going boom, 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 boom. These are the guys that we're looking at. These are guys that we want. Let's set up interviews. Let's get this show on the road. Let's beat out this other teams, because there are going to be other teams that are going to be looking, right? The Raiders are going to be looking. That's in your division. The Bears are going to be looking. There's a lot of teams. Jets could be looking with Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be a really entertaining spot. Patriots could be looking. Titans could be looking. Teams are going to be looking. Got to move quick. Do it quick. Get on it. Get in it, and get ready for the next season. Because, Dave, I think this is the most important decision they've had to make in a very long time.
What they have to ask themselves is, how bad do you want it? Like, how important is winning to this organization? If you look at the history of the Spanos family, when they've had general managers that had the big personalities, a strong power, they've had some success. You know, Bobby Beathard came in and Bobby Beathard took them to a Super Bowl. The thing with the Bobby Beathard, who obviously took the Dolphins to Super Bowls and the Redskins to Super Bowls, and they won championships with those guys. When he was with the Chargers, guess what? There were no salary caps when he had Washington and he had Miami. And then he comes to the Chargers, and all of a sudden the rules changed and there were salary caps. So it was different. Also, scouting was a lot different when you had a guy like Bobby Beathard. Before, you know, a guy like Darrell Green, who's a Hall of Famer. No one knew Darrell Green in college, but all of a sudden Darrell Green's a guy that Bobby Beathard finds, and he's running down Tony Dorsett on Monday Night Football, and he makes a name for himself and ends up being one of the best defensive backs in the history of the league. You can't sit there and find guys that nobody saw anymore. Every game is on TV. Everything is streamed. The internet exists. So you got to find a GM, not like Bobby Beathard exactly, that was good at his job of finding guys out of nowhere. Those guys, it doesn't matter. It's impossible to find guys out of nowhere anymore. Everybody's exposed. Then he brings in a guy like John Butler from Buffalo after going to 4 straight Super Bowls. John Butler had a huge ego, all right? And he was a big presence, big body, big presence. I don't think Dean liked it. I don't think Dean liked getting bullied basically in the hallway of his own building. And that's where I think Dean has sitting there and kind of turned the corner a little bit. AJ Smith was a powerful GM. Marty Schottenheimer was a powerful coach. What Dean needs to put aside is his ego and let other people basically run his organization. John and Dean need to basically work from home, and they need to sit there and accept the checks that the NFL sends them every single year. Profit. You know what? You have an NFL franchise. You know how many people in the world would love to own one? A bunch of them, because that's how billionaires show their wealth, is by owning teams that are in the NFL or big leagues. Dean is in the way. John Spanos is in the way. And this is the problem, Mario and Josh, for me, is that Dean's going to end up hiring a guy that he's not going to give power to, and someone that's going to be weak-minded, and somebody that he can bully, and he can push him right out. And going right back to what you just said, Josh, what happened to Mike McCoy after he left as a coach? Mike McCoy went and became his old position, an offensive coordinator. Dude, he was fired right away. And then he got hired again as an OC, and he was fired right away. Mike McCoy couldn't do it. Anthony Lynn, as you said, how many head coaching jobs has he interviewed for since being here? They do not do a good job of hiring head coaches and general managers. So whoever you bring in, you have to go, here's your complete power. If you really care about winning. Otherwise, you're in for a long road. And this is unfortunately for Charger fans, because people write all the time, either on our YouTube comments or privately write me through Twitter. Man, I've been a fan, Dave, longer than you. And man, I've put up with this, and I put up with this, and I put up with this. Man, we're tired of putting up with it. The unfortunate thing for us, we're stuck with this team. You guys write to us and say, man, I'm ready to become a 49er fan. It's impossible. This is the team that's in your blood to the day you die. Man, but you want to see them win one Super Bowl. Just win one damn Super Bowl. And they're so far away because the only people that don't take it seriously are the guys who own this team. And that's what it's going to take. I don't want Bill Belichick. I'm sorry. Unless Bill Belichick comes in and says, I don't need to be the GM. I will take Bill Belichick, and I will take Josh McDaniels in as his OC, because I've seen that work before. But I hate to say it, Tom Brady's not coming out of retirement. But I think Justin Herbert's a good enough franchise quarterback where they could have success. So I don't know what direction they go, but Mario, you're right. They need a good GM, but they need a GM that Dean's willing to get out of his way. And that's what I just don't think is going to happen. I don't think Dean's going to get bullied in the hallway the way John Butler used to bully him.
Dean should be put upside down in a trash can. I mean, this thing is a joke. I put out a tweet yesterday I put out a tweet
khaki pants,
yesterday.
dress shoes, penny loafers sticking out of the top.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. I put out a tweet yesterday. I'm from San Diego, okay? I put out a tweet during halftime when, it was a catastrophe yesterday. I put, I love the Chargers. I understand why San Diegans are upset with the Chargers and they hate Dean Spanos. I totally understand where they're at, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to pick up another team. It is not the same. I can't pick up the 49ers or the Cowboys and say, this is now my team. It's not the same type of love. I'm not going anywhere. And then of course you get the dumbest comments in the world that are like, hey man, you should just, not watch the NFL anymore. Do you think I'm really going to not watch the NFL anymore? Do you remember during the season when you put on channel 3 for ESPN and it's bowling and you're like, this is what happens when there's no football? Like, I got to watch this. You think I'm going to turn to bowling? Do you think I'm going to go to the park? Like, I'm watching football. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm watching football all day long. It's the greatest thing in the world. I'm not quitting the NFL. I'm not going anywhere. Mario, there's a problem that the biggest problem is the Chargers can't fix it. They can't get rid of ownership. You got to spend the money. The Chargers were worth $2 billion when they were in San Diego their last year in 2016. They're worth over $4 billion now. It's doubled. Go spend the money on a head coach. Go spend the money in the right places. Care about its fans for one time in your history and prove to us that you want to win one time.
Make a splash. Make a splash. Clear the water. Be that fat kid at summer camp that's about to jump in the pool and everyone decides to get out because it's going to be a big one. And it's going to be like a wave. It's going to be a hurricane in that pool. Be that. Like, make a big splash with this head coaching cycle. Go all in. Go all in. Like you said, show us something that you care and that there's something coming. There's light at the end of the tunnel. You got to do that. If you don't do that, expect the same. Expect the same results. Expect the same everything to happen again. And the hamster wheel keeps going. And also, I'm not going to stop watching football. I hate when people say, why don't you just turn it off? Why don't you shut up?
Yeah, you turn it off.
Yeah. Like, that makes me look at them and go, what's your vice? Yeah, why don't you quit that? Yeah, why don't you put the dip away? Like, come on. Like, shut up. Like, I hate when people do, well, why do you watch it? Because I'm having a good time. You're like, you're angry. Well, I'm having a good time still. Like, that's
I'm angry. Question me on my decisions. That's why I'm angry.
Yeah.
You ever talk to people that say they gave up the NFL? They're the most miserable people going. You wouldn't want to hang out with them.
No, and they have lame arguments, and then they always suck. And I'm like, well, have you tried betting on it? And they're like, well, you bet. I'm like, no. So now I'm going to be judgmental.
Yeah,
they get a little sandwich. Yeah, so that's what it is.
This is the hill you want to die on?
Dude, I know a person whose cousin did meth, but they ordered Diet Cokes everywhere they went. So that's where they drew the line. It's like, what? It's like, that's what we're doing here. Like, you work on your own vices. Go put a Zyn in. I'm gonna watch my team.
Yeah.
No, this is where we're at, man. We're all football fanatics. The majority of the country is too. I mean, it's the #1 sport by far. Drachi just talked about the value of this team. We're just hoping the guy that runs the team that everybody loves figures it out. And we're kind of just saying, get out of the way. We're even asking him to solve the problem. Step aside. I got it. There's a reason why you call the IT guy in to help you out, because you don't know what you're doing. It's Dean needs to get out of the way. You still own the team. Guess what? They're still going to give you the Lombardi trophy when it's over. We're just asking you to get the hell out of the way on the way there. That's what we're doing. Move. And anyone tells you to stop watching football, okay, just like telling the guy stop looking at cleavage. Dude, you can't. It's there. I'm going to walk away from that? Please.
That's Bolt City.
I think we should
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Happy holidays.
That's good.
Yeah.
There you go. You happy, Chargers? You ruined Mario's Christmas. Told you guys had big plans.
Yeah. And if you want to throw a paycheck in the mail because of it, that's fine too.
There you go.
Almost in my address, but I thought, we won't do that.
All right. We'll be back. Look, just so you know, of course, the big story is, if you're wondering who these guys are, Giff Smith is now your new interim head coach of the Chargers for 3 games. You won't remember that name in a year from now when we say, who was that guy again? It was Giff Smith. Giff. Okay. Yeah. JoJo Wooden's now your new interim GM for at least 3 more games. Fantastic news.
Keep on giving.
Yes. There you go. So just for the record, Staley was 24-24 as a head coach before they showed him the door. Boy, it feels a lot worse than that, doesn't it? And then you look at Telesco, he was 84-92 as general manager. And
how many playoff appearances?
Not enough to write home about. That's the sad thing.
Yeah.
Some embarrassing losses right there. Just curious, what do you do with all your Charger gear for those guys?
Dude, I think about this all the time. All the time. I'm so glad this is brought up. I think about this with every coach I see. What do you do with all that gear? Because you have so much. Like, what do you do with that all? God, dude, I think about this all the time.
I have an idea. I might
Okay.
get in trouble for this one. I know somebody, I'm not going to mention their name, who was coaching somewhere, and then he coached at the rival school, and he gave all of his old gear to the homeless, which was a nice thing to do. But every time you drove down the street, they'd be wearing that high school team's gear, and you'd think this high school doesn't amount to anything. These guys are all homeless. Like, what happens at that school? I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but yeah, awful thing to do. Awful thing to do.
It's a lot of gear. It's a lot of
That
gear.
was me. Dude, I had like $2,000 worth of gear. That was my move. Mario, was that a bad move? That
I mean, no, I think it's a good move.
Gear, and I gave it to the homeless guys by Petco Park. So it looks like every time you go to a Padre game, you're like, what's the deal with all those kids, man? They didn't amount to anything. They're all homeless.
I think good for you. That's good stuff. I honestly, wait, Josh, this is a good question for you. Do you still rock the Bama player packs you got? Like the workout stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I mean, this is completely different because Alabama's football that's a flex. Division III lacrosse is not. But like my workout stuff is still like my lacrosse like workout stuff. Like I'm going to the gym after this. I'm probably gonna be repping DePaul lacrosse, walking in there.
Okay, nice. Dude, we'll talk about this for a second. I remember a couple people have given me crap like, "Oh, you still wear that?" Like, yeah, dude, it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like, I played for the greatest. Yeah, play for Alabama. It's the coolest thing I've ever done. I'll never do anything cool with the rest of my life. When I have my kids, I'm gonna say you're the second best thing that ever happened to me. Like, it's the coolest thing I've ever done. Of course, I'm gonna wear my Alabama stuff. Like, and I know that's not the point you're trying to make right now, but yeah, of course, 100%.
Because it's always the best gear too. Yeah,
dude, it's different gear you can't even buy in the store. Dude, Mario, I still wear it too because I got a ton of stuff because he went there. Yeah, I got a ton of Alabama stuff. I'm telling you, there's no shame in that. Playing for Alabama is like playing for the Yankees. You know,
true.
A lot of championships there.
That being said, every time I'm in my gym, I see some guys in like some what was it? I chirped one guy one time, which on me.
High school?
No, college. He was wearing like a Hopkins like full get up, and I was like, I was with one of my boys, and like I was like stretching, and the guy like walked in. I said, "Jesus Christ, didn't know we have the founding father over there." Like I was just, and it was just really loud, and the kid heard it. Didn't say anything, but the kid heard it. But I did chirp a little bit, so I'm gonna judge you, but don't judge me.
Yeah, it's better that way.
Yeah,
it's more fun that way.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, we'll be back in a couple days. Again, emergency podcast, but at least we had a lot to say. Whether you listened or not, we had a lot to get off our own chest talking to each other. So again, appreciate you listening to the show through the Odyssey app. Again, Bolt City Podcast. And if you watch it on YouTube, great. Appreciate the comments as well. So I know a lot of people are extremely happy. For me, guys, my initial reaction was, this is the bed you made. You're going to sit and you're going to eat this S sandwich for the end of the year because this is what you created. That's how I felt for ownership. It was like, you created this. What's the point of doing it now? We're going to let you off the hook because all of a sudden you got smart. I don't think you can make the playoffs being 5-9 with 3 games to go. This is a cheap excuse to me by ownership of the Chargers. Anyway, so for Mario Heron, Josh Pele, I'm Dave Pele. We are not even Merry Christmas. I almost wished everyone a Merry Christmas, Mario, because of you messing up the goddamn calendar.
No, still happy. Happy holidays. So
happy holidays. We'll be back in a couple of days. We'll talk to you soon.